kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to episode 197 of the Rotten Views podcast. Thank you everyone for showing up to this week's episode. We have a fun, it might be fun. It's a different movie. It's a Pauly Shore movie. I personally like Pauly Shore, but I know a lot of people really don't like him that much. I can understand why. I can see why a lot of people don't like him as much as I do, but that's fine. This movie's from 1997. As the title already says, it's the Curse of Inferno. I've watched this movie like once or twice before. I found it on Tubi. It's also free on YouTube to watch as well if you want to watch it on YouTube. I don't know if it's still going to be on Tubi at the point in time when you listen to this episode. So if it's not, you can probably still find it on YouTube, or you can probably find it in like a $5 bin or less at like a used store somewhere. But before we do get into the episode at hand, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
Don't think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Come back in an hour.
Housekeeping, you want towels?
More towels. Need sleepy.
So, thank you everyone who's been liking the episodes, listening to the episodes, sharing the episodes. It means a lot to me. It really does. And I see the numbers growing. I appreciate that. So that's what I want to get out there first and foremost. As always, make sure to follow me on all social media accounts at TypeSign. Links are down below, but you can find us on X, Facebook, TikTok. But the main thing, and Instagram as well. But the main thing we have is the YouTube channel where we post with the weekly gaming video every single Wednesday. We have old episodes of the podcast going up there as well. We also do live streams. I've been slacking a little bit on those. Like always, it's just so hard to get everything down on a pat schedule when you have a child who sometimes does not want to sleep. So it's a little bit difficult. So it is what it is. So we get as much done as possible. And once we do hit that 1,000 sub mark, we're going to be giving away some free artwork. So definitely make sure to go like that YouTube channel, subscribe, share it with your friends, co-workers, enemies, whoever has a YouTube account. Just go share it, and then you might get some free artwork out of it. Who knows? Yeah, we got a lot of fun content coming out on there. We're going to be doing some Super Nintendo gameplays, some Game Boy Advance gameplays. I don't know what all is going to be there. I've got some PS1 games I want to play, PS2 games I want to play as well. So I want to do some long plays as well. I don't know if I'm going to make it just one long video or if I'm going to make it a section of long videos. But we have those to look out for. So definitely keep an eye on the community tabs on the YouTube channel, where I'll be keeping you guys updated on that as well. We have a lot of fun art pieces coming out as well. I have a Five Nights at Freddy piece in the works right now. For whatever reason, I had the urge to do some Adult Swim drawings, so I just did a series of Aqua Teen Hunger Force drawings, which people seem to enjoy, so hopefully you guys will check those out as well. They'll be on the community tabs as well, the short tabs. I should have probably did like a live stream drawing them. I don't know why I didn't. It's just how I am some days. Some days I want to record myself, and some days I just don't. That's why I don't live stream every single night. I should, because I play, at least an hour worth of video games a night. Just, try to mellow and relax. But it is what it is. Also on the YouTube channel and the Instagram channel and the Facebook page. Not so much X, because I always kind of forget about X and Threads. I still have a Threads account. I just completely forget to post on it because I'm horrible at social media stuff and whatnot. So don't hate me. It's fine. But yeah, we've been posting the weekly lunchbox art surprise. Yeah, sure, school is coming to an end right now. But, there's still summer camp. So we'll still be ranking those out every single week. Cranking? I don't know how to speak some days. You guys already know that though, because I butcher names, so it's fine. But yeah, I guess that's enough of the housekeeping. I think I touched base on everything that I really want to touch base on. So we're going to start talking about this movie at hand. But before we do get into that, just so you guys know, if this is your first time listening, I don't know why of all the movies this is your first time listening to an episode. But hey, thank you nonetheless for showing up. The way I run this clusterfuck of a podcast is I start talking about the movie from start to finish and hit all the points in between that catch my interest. So if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1997, feel free to pause that now and go watch it on YouTube or Tubi, and then make sure to come back. Or just, sit back, relax, listen to me talk about the movie at hand, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully you'll either enjoy this episode a lot and want to go see the movie, or you'll just avoid it altogether. So, this movie, The Curse of Inferno, came out in 1997. It's a 4.2 out of 10 on IMDb and a whopping 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. The description, as read from IMDb, a rather dull-minded bank robber suddenly suffers from a change of heart and decides to give the money back. However, he then learns that getting the money back into the bank is much more difficult than taking it out. This movie is written and directed by John Warren, who's best known for doing Flashfire from 1994, where he's the writer. He also did Major League Back to the Minors from 1998. He was the writer for that as well. He was also the writer for an episode of The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. It's a Western. Other than that, hasn't really done too much that I catches my attention. He was the writer for 1993's Naked in New York. I have no idea what that is. And yeah, I guess the biggest thing on his list would be The Curse of the Inferno and Major League Back to the Minors. And like always, we like to mention a couple cast members of the movie. Of course, the main one we're going to talk about is Pauly Shore. He's playing Chuck. He's best known for being in Biodome with, I think it's Stephen Baldwin. It's one of the Baldwin. He's also in Son-in-Law as Crawl from 1993. He's also, Pauly Shore is Dead, that little documentary that he did to try and make himself a little bit more popular, I guess. And he's also apparently the voice for the 2021 Pinocchio, A True Story. He's done a bunch of voice acting. He's also in the Goofy movie. I forget his name, though, in the Goofy movie, to be honest with you guys. I should have looked that up prior to this, but I didn't, of course, because I'm horrible at that. He's also in 1994's In the Army Now. He's also in 1995's Jury Duty. Also, in 1992, he did a movie called Encino Man, which for whatever reason on IMDb is called California Man, and I don't know why. I've never heard it called that before, but we'll just leave that at that. Maybe Encino Man was too racist for the time being. I don't know. It's probably best not to look into it. Also, apparently his name in Goofy, or an extremely goofy movie, is Bobby Zimmerowski. I butchered that last name, but we're always good for that. The other actor or actress for the movie that we're going to talk about is the other lead, Janie Turner, playing Layla, who's best known for being in Cliffhanger from 1993, Steel Magnolias from 1989. She was in 12 episodes of the TV show Friday Night Lights from 2008 to 2009, and she's also in 110 episodes of Northern Exposure from 1990 to 1995. The last person we're going to talk about on this list is Ned Beatty, who's best known for being in 1976 Network, playing Arthur. He's in 1978's Superman, playing Otis. He's also apparently in Shooter from 2007 with Mark Wahlberg, which I've never actually bothered to watch. And he's Bobby from 1972's Deliverance with Burt Reynolds and Making a Pig Squeal. We're not going to touch on that one anymore. If you want to know what that means, just go watch the movie for yourself. The tagline for this movie is, they got a plan. Now they just need a clue. Alright, so with that being said, and I think I touched on all the bases of the movie, we're actually going to get into the movie now, so this is going to be your last warning. If you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1997, I think it was, go pause it now and go watch the movie. If not, sit back, relax, get some popcorn, Doritos, whatever your favorite snack might be. Or if you're at work, hopefully this helps you get through your day at work or your evening, depending on what hours you work. And we're going to get started on the movie right at hand, right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
I still feel a little better if maybe I had some bullets.
Give me all of your money.
Pauly Shore's got a plan.
Hurry up.
To escape small-town Inferno.
But I have the Curse of Inferno hanging over me.
You monster!
The only problem is he can't keep his hands on the loot.
$3 million!
Or off the local sheriff.
You know, I think you've got a little fever.
I believe I do.
Pauly Shore, Janine Turner, The Curse of Inferno.
So the movie starts out, I think there might have been a little bit clip from the intro, but we see Pauly Shore's character, Chuck, and Harold Max Perlich, I believe I butchered that name. They're driving a Trans Am, and they're two stupid bank robbers who are contemplating what they're going to do with their life. It's also weird to think this is like one of Pauly Shore's more serious roles, so it's a little bit weird. It's not so much on the comedy aspect, it still has comedy to it, but not what you're used to at all. But they're thinking about the bank robber they're going to do, and Chuck, Pauly Shore's character, he's got the cowboy hat on, he's got the smoke, he's driving the car, he's like, so how you doing, Harold? He's like, I'm good. He's like, no, how you doing? He's like, well, I'm trying not to think about it. And then he starts looking at his cue cards because they're getting ready to rob a bank, and he's got cue cards, so he knows what to say to the bank teller to get the money. That's when they start driving by the Inferno, Texas city line sign. So they're coming into Inferno, which is the town. That's why it's called the Curse of Inferno. And Chuck's like, so if anything goes bad, you make sure you cover your own ass, because I'm gonna cover my own ass, okay? We're friends for the day, but we gotta try and get this money and get out of there. And then Harold starts thinking about when they were kids and how they would listen to the radio, and like the radio host would say, hey, you gotta look for something this color, and they would be on this little treasure hunt. And Chuck's like, this isn't the time for it, Harold. And also I was wrong, they're not driving a Firebird. It looks like it might be a Mustang. I haven't seen a close-up view of it, but it's a nice little red car for the time being. So they start pulling up to the alley beside the bank, and Chuck's like, so if something goes wrong, you take the car back to the hangar and you start stripping it down. And I was like, yeah, we've only gone over it 100 times. Like, well, I'm just, we're not too smart here, so we gotta make sure we cover our bases and know what's gonna happen. And then Harold wants to go in with bullets and the actual gun, and then Chuck's like, bullets and gun is how people actually get hurt or killed, and we don't want anybody to be hurt or killed, right, Harold? He's like, no. So that's a negatory on the bullets. There's not gonna be any bullets in our guns. So at least they're like thoughtful bank robbers. At least they don't actually want to hurt anyone. They just want to take their money. So take the good with the bad, right? So we see them in these coverall work suits, like all mechanic coveralls. They got their ski masks on. They get into the bank, and they're just waving around a gun. And one of them is like moving his hands down, like telling everyone motion to get down. It's actually Chuck's character using the hand motions and whatnot, because he goes to the teller and starts handing her the cue cards, and they're all in the wrong order, so she starts reading them in the wrong order, and he doesn't want to talk, because I guess maybe it's a really small town, and he's figuring people are going to recognize his voice, as we then see this other black car pulling up behind their car parked in the alleyway, so now their car is blocked in on the one entrance of the alleyway. So then the teller finally takes Chuck to the back vault where all the money is, and then Chuck's just looking at it, he's like, oh, look at all this money, and she's like, yeah, it's a lot of money, right? And he's like, oh crap, I'm talking. Start filling out the bag. And then we see outside where Harold is watching in the lobby, he starts playing with a vending machine and then has gumballs going all over the place. And then outside we see that black car, the two guys that got out of it, they're getting ready to rob the bank as well too. And those two guys run in, guns full out, yelling at everyone, being like, get on the floor. And the one guy's like, they're already on the floor. And then the security guard's like, the bank's being robbed. He's like, you say you're already being robbed? He's like, yeah, but that guy over there that's on the ground with his partner. He's like, yeah, me, yeah, I'm robbing the bank. And then Chuck comes out of the back, and Harold's like, hey, these guys want to rob the bank too. And Chuck's like, yeah, the stockings on the head actually gave it away there, Harold. Thanks. So then the guys are asking for Chuck to hand over the money, and Chuck's saying no. And then for whatever reason, Harold pulls out his gun, but his gun doesn't have bullets. So then the guys start shooting, and then Chuck has to run to the washroom and barricades himself in the washroom. And Harold is hiding behind a chair. He actually pushes the chair into one of the other bank robbers and escapes out the front door. But now Chuck is stuck in the back washroom because the door won't open, and there's bars on the window as well. So now he can't get out. But the alarm's going off, and then we see Harold running to the car, hopping into it, and driving away. Because, gonna save his own ass as the cops are showing up as well. Then we see a cop chase happening, and Harold's apparently a decent getaway driver, because he actually gets away to the point where the cop car chasing him actually crashes into a hay bale, and it's actually Layla, the other main character in this movie. And she's all pissed off because she had a hay bale. which rightfully so, I guess. And then we see the sheriff, looking over the bank and checking to make sure everyone's okay. And then we hear knocking come from the door, and they're like, "Where's that come from? What door?" And he's like, "I think it's in the bathroom." And that's when the officer's like, "Who's in there?" He's like, Chuck Betts. I was just in here going to the bathroom, then heard all this commotion outside, and now I'm stuck inside the bathroom." And next thing we know, we see firefighters actually showing up at the bank to take the whole door off so they can get Chuck out of the washroom, as he's also been shot in like the shoulder arm area because one of the bad guys tried to shoot at him as they saw him running to the bathroom. And then Chuck's trying to say that he saw the guys and the guy away in a Camaro, and that they're two bald guys and they had a handlebar mustache and this and that. He's just faking the whole thing altogether. Then as he's on his way to the hospital during the ambulance ride, he's kind of rethinking things, being like, what's my luck that the same day that I'm going to rob the bank with my best buddy, somebody else is coming to rob the bank at the same time and I get shot by them. And then this is the first time that Chuck sees Lila because she's at the hospital with him, and she's like feeling his head up as he's waking up on the stretcher. He's like, "I think he got a little bit of a fever," and then he's like, "I think I do have a little bit of fever, to be honest with you." And then the nurse is like, "I think he's ready to go in so we can actually operate on his arm." And they kind of just have like a staring off contest. And then we see Chuck getting pushed out on the wheelchair by one of the nurses, and Layla's there. She's like, "Oh, I gotta go now. I gotta take Chuck. Do you want me to take you back to your car?" He's like, "I can't drive in this condition. Actually, I got a buddy that will go back in town. If you could just take me home, that'd be cool. I'd like to go home." And then the car ride to his home, they're talking about Vanna White and Wheel of Fortune, and apparently how skinny her damn legs are. I've never noticed, and I don't know why anyone. I guess she was like an eye candy model for the 90s, but we'll just leave it at that, I guess. But yeah, she takes him home. She's like, you lost a lot of blood. You gotta make sure you're eating good and you know how to change that gauze and everything. You don't want your arm getting all infected. He's like, "Yeah, I'll be fine. I got plenty of food inside. I'll go make something to eat. Thank you for the ride home, though." And then as he's leaving the car, he's like, I want to say something, but I don't want to be too strange. But I know I was laying on that stretcher and looking up at the lights, and I could have swore when I saw you, I saw an angel. And it's just so weird hearing these words coming out of Pauly Shore's mouth all together, because I can't take him serious at all, especially with his Texan accent that he's trying to pull off. And as she's driving away, he's narrating over the whole scene, being like, I'm not one of these romantic guys. I would never call someone an angel face, but I actually meant it. I meant it for the first time in my life. I really do like this girl. And as Chuck is going inside his home, Harold's in there the whole time. He's like, "Chuck," he's like, "Goddamn, what are you doing? You're gonna scare me to death. I just got out of the goddamn hospital." And then we find out that the car is already stripped and it's at the hangar, because apparently Harold got some new batteries for his power wrench, and it works real damn fast, so it stripped the whole damn car all in a matter of hours, I guess. And Harold's like, "So why didn't they arrest you?" He's like, "I told them I was a customer in there taking a crap the whole time, and they believed me." And then there's the sheriff, talking to the reporter. He's like, "We can definitely tell that all four of these gentlemen are working together, because there's no odds, no chance in hell that two sets of burglars would be hitting up the bank at the same time." And that's when we then see Ned Betty's character, Moles Hundo, pulling up, and he's like a special detective by the looks of it, I guess. And then we see Chuck and Harold in the hangar hanging out together, because the whole time they want this money is actually to get their plane up and running, because they need $80,000 apparently to get the plane up and running. And they're watching the news report saying how the sheriff thinks that there's all four guys working together. They have a description of the car, license plate, all this and that. And that's when Chuck's like, "You know what? I saw a lot more money in that bank than $100,000 like they're saying. There's a couple $1 million in that bank. Why is there a couple $1 million in the Inferno Bank of all places?" And then Chuck's like, "So I'm thinking it's dirty money, but guess what? No one's going to think that the same money that was stolen from the bank is actually hidden in the exact same bank, because guess what? That money is safe inside the washroom at the bank." So we then see Mole, Ned Betty's character, talking to one of the guys, the head guys at the bank, and he's not a detective. He's actually like the guy that runs the bank. He's actually the guy who's making the dirty money come into the bank. So he's all pissed off about his money being gone. And then Mole's like, "So the sheriff isn't going to find the money, because it'd take him 2 hands just to find his own butt, ditwad." And that's when Moles is like, "You know what, Lonnie, you're gonna have to find that cash yourself, because if the sheriff finds that cash and finds out that it's dirty, dirty, then the FBI is going to come down here and they're going to be up your goddamn ass and you're going to lose your job and go to prison. So you better find my money. And then Mo starts questioning Lonnie because he's like, who else knew I was running money through your bank? There's only me and you that knew about it. But you're not smart enough to rob your own bank now, are you? And Lonnie's like, no, I'm not smart enough to do that at all. And he's like, good, because if I found out you did, I'm going to gut you from your nuts to your face, okay? Do you understand me? I'm going to skin you like a jackrabbit. And we see Chuck struggling to sit down at his kitchen table where he's trying to open a can of something with a can opener, and he's struggling. He's like, oh, damn, I'm going to have a pickle mayo sandwich because I can't open what might be tuna. I don't know. And then here's a car pulling up, and it's actually Layla showing up off duty. He's like, hey, how you doing? And she came over to bring over dinner because she's like, with your arm being all messed up, I just figured you probably couldn't cook yourself a meal. And he's like, lasagna, that's my favorite dish of all time. I'm Garfield. And we see them sitting down around the table for a candlelight dinner where he's explaining the Curse of Inferno, where he's like, anyone who lives in here and works in here just happens to just be stuck in here and they want to live somewhere else, but they never get to leave. And that's when he talks about Moles. Moles apparently is the richest guy who has a lot of the factories or jobs in the town, and he just pays them enough to get by and not enough for them to actually get out of town. And then he starts explaining his plan, how he bought this plane. The next thing I know, we cut and we see them sitting in the plane, and he's talking about the plane, and it's nowhere near done. So his plan's going to take a long ass time to get done. And seeing he needs 80,000, he said, to get the plane up and running, it's going to take a while. That's when Layla's like, so can we go for a ride? He's like, up in the air? Oh, no, that's not going to happen. The red end's got some compression issue. There's some linkage issue. But you know what? We can taxi around on the runway a little bit, and that'd be like a ride. But, Harold, he knows a lot about planes, so he's working up. We just got to save us some money, get some parts, put some work into it. It'll be fine. Then as they are taxiing around, Chuck's like, so this used to be Mole's old plane. Bought a new plane, and so then I bought it. But then when he found out I was buying it, he let me buy it. But then he fired me at the same time after buying it because he thought I was overstepping my boundaries. He's like, I really hate that guy. He's like, yeah, me too. Then we find out their big plan is to go down to the Caribbean islands. Once the plane is running, and they're going to start chartering people around, and that's going to be their own little small business that they run. And then we cut to this help wanted sign that's outside of Mr. Wizard's floor cleaning service building, and that's where we see Harold and Chuck both there to start their first time job working with Mr. Wizard, and apparently they're going to use this as a way of getting into the bank again to steal the money back because they're going to pretend to be in the cleaning service for the bank. Mr. Wizard does like the full steam clean, does the full carpet clean, everything. He's like, let me see how you're doing, Chuck. Let me see if your floor is clean enough and there's no dirt particles left in the carpet at all. He's like, I think you're doing pretty good, Chuck. But then Chuck makes a joke about something, and then Mr. Wizard's like, there's no room for jokes and humor in the carpet cleaning business. Do you understand me, Chuck? This is serious business. Then we see them outside looking over the mobile, the van with the Mr. Wizard statue on the front of it. He's like, Mr. Wizard van does not get parked by any other vehicles. It's in its own surroundings at all times. Do you understand? Any dings that are on the Mr. Wizard van come out of your paycheck, and things are not cheap. Do you understand me, boys? And then we see them at this old lady's house, doing their first cleanup job, and Harold's fighting off a Boston Terrier with the vacuum cleaner. And then Chuck goes over to the old lady. He's like, Miss, may I use your phone? And she's like, is it local? And he's like, no, ma'am, I'm calling China. Yes, it's gonna be local, miss. Don't worry, I promise. Anyways, Chuck is calling the First Inferno Bank saying, hey, you guys are the lucky winners. You won a free carpet and cleaning treatment, and we could be there at any point in time, like anytime soon, and start cleaning that so we can actually, get our money out of the washroom hiding spot, just so you guys are aware. Obviously, he doesn't say that part, but it's the obvious part as to why they're doing it. Then we cut to Chuck and Layla out for a little lunch get together, where Layla's like, I sure hope those criminals that rob the bank, they get their justice because that's what they deserve. And he's like, well, it's kind of weird that two separate criminals would be robbing the bank at once, but I get what you're saying. I hope they get what they need or deserve. And then the whole time while Chuck and Layla are now outside the diner, we see it's like across the room or across the road from a building above, we see Moles looking down being like, I'm pretty sure it's probably that Chuck guy that robbed my bank. And Moles is inside the office with his two little henchmen. One kind of looks like he's a pro wrestler of some sort. He's got big, like, Haku looking hair. Then Lonnie walks into the office. He's like, I didn't know you were waiting for me, to be honest with you. I had no idea. He's like, it's alright. Any word? He's like, no, haven't heard a single word about your money or where it is. And then we see Mole and Lonnie leaving the office, and they're looking around the bank. He's like, what the hell's going on here? And he's like, we're getting the carpet cleaned. And he's Mr. Wizard. We apparently won a free carpet clean, so we're, getting the bank all set up so we can get everything cleaned up. So that's free, right? And then we see them cleaning, and Chuck goes over to the security guy. He's like, I gotta use the washroom. He's like, yeah, go ahead, just, it's right back there. So then we see Chuck in the washroom staying on the toilet as he's pushing up the ceiling tile, trying to find where the money is. And then he falls, and we hear the toilet flush, and the security guy's like, hey, everything okay there? He's like, yeah, everything's fine. And when Chuck pops back up into the scene, his head is bleeding because now he's got a giant cut out. He's like, this damn bathroom is nothing but trouble, and then he finally finds the money. And then Chuck goes over to Harold. He's like, how's it going? He's like, it's pretty good. This part where the people walk in the most on the bank, it's a little worn, but, I'm going to get it nice and clean. He's like, I'm not worried about that, Harold. Let's get going. We got the money. Let's go. And then we see them getting the supplies back into the van, and Mole's like, he's a lot smarter than I give him credit. Maybe I shouldn't have fired his ass then. Anyways, let's go full on, but now let's not get too close, okay, boys? We don't want to spook the dumbasses. Then we see them in the van, and Chuck's like, maybe we gotta figure out a way to send the money back after we get the plane actually running, and we get going where we are. And Harold's like, we could do what people do with kids when they don't want them. And he's like, what's that? Put them in a blanket, wrap them up, and put them on a porch and just leave. So at that point, Chuck's looking at the mirror, and we see that we're getting followed by someone, and it's Mole's henchman and himself in his big black Cadillac, I assume, or Lincoln. And then Mole's guys come up beside him and start bashing the side of the van, and that's going to be a lot of dings coming out of your paycheck, boys, because that van's going to be pretty messed up by the time you guys, get done. Most guys ran them off the road, and they go off through a field and actually ran through a billboard that says Inferno, and it actually knocks off the Mr. Wizard statue on top of the van. He's like, shit. That's when Mole and his guys come out, and they, throw Chuck and Harold off to the side, and then they start searching the van for the money, while actually Mo takes this pick and starts breaking the headlights and starts pickaxing the hood, and they're just watching. He's like, he's kind of playing hell with the Wizard mobile unit. Chuck, it's probably going to come out of our bank account, isn't it, Chuck? Not going to be a good paycheck, will it be? That's when they then pull the equipment out of the van, and then one of the henchmen guys like, I got something, it's a bag right here. And then Mo's like, it's about time. Mo starts going through the bag, and it's actually just paper clippings, and he's all pissed off. He's like, damn. And then Chuck's looking at it, he's like, holy shit, maybe it wasn't money. And then Mo goes over to Chuck. He says, Chuck, you playing a game with me? I know one thing and one thing only. You got $3 million of my money. And then Chuck was like, I thought it was the bank's money. He's like, nah, you got my money, Chuck. And when Mo just grabs him by the face, Chuck's face, he's like, you got 48 hours to give me back my money, or I'm going to turn you guys into fertilizer bags. Do you guys understand me? Now get away from my car and go get my money. And as they're driving away, Harold's like, where'd all this shredded paper come from? Where'd the money go? And Chuck's just like, I don't know. I honestly don't know at all. And we see them driving back into town to drop off the Mr. Wizard van with the statue tied on the top of it. And then Mr. Wizard comes out and he's like, my van, what happened to my van? And then we see Chuck holding the head of Mr. Wizard, and Harold's like, I think we're going to get canned. He's like, yeah, I think so. And we see Chuck and Harold driving, and Harold's like, you know what, Chuck, we ain't going to leave Inferno. We ain't going to be able to start a catering service or whatever the hell it is, because we ain't got no money. We don't know where the money is. We robbed the bank already once and took the money and hid the money, but now the money's not there, and we have no idea what the hell's going on now. So then we see Harold dropping Chuck off at his home, and Chuck's going inside the home. He's like, shit, things aren't as I thought they were, because we see the sheriff inside the home, and the whole place is destroyed, and there's stuff all over the place. He's like, well, welcome home, honey. So where's the money? I know you got the money somewhere in this damn house, don't you, boy? The sheriff's going off by his instincts, because he's like, my instincts are saying you got something to do with that bank robbery. He's like, I didn't have anything to do with the bank robbery at all, Sheriff. Like I told you, I went to go use the washroom, and then all the gunshots were happening, and then next thing you know, I was trapped in the washroom. I was just going there to the bank to open up an account so I could have an account at the bank. That's all I was doing, officer. Sheriff, whatever, Gibson. And then the sheriff, as he's leaving, he's like, you better fix that toilet there, boy, because it's running running again. And so then after the sheriff leaves, Chuck goes to fix the toilet, and inside the toilet bowl there's just bags of money. He's like, oh my god, where did this come from? And then next thing we know, we see Chuck sitting at his house, and then we see Lila in lingerie, and she's getting ready to like straddle his lap, and she's like, what happened to your head? Like, how did you hurt your head doing carpet clean? That's a very dangerous business, apparently. He's like, nah, I'm just dumb. Then we see Chuck and Harold in the truck driving. He's like, yeah, the money was found in the crapper, just nice, neat, and baggies. And I don't know who put it there, but clearly someone in town knows a lot more than we do, and we need to figure out what's going on. And they're actually going to the sheriff because he's like, I'm just gonna tell the sheriff I found it in a trash bag. You know, what does he care? He's gonna be happy. He's just finding the money and getting the money back. And Harold's like, well, what about Mose? He's like, well, I don't know what to do about Mose. The money's out of my hands. I can't give the man the money if I don't have no money. So the sheriff's gonna have the money, so Mose can deal with the sheriff. Then we see Harold in the truck reading the paper, and Layla comes up behind him and scares the crap out of him. He's like, I'm just here waiting for Chuck. He caught me off guard. She's like, I've been looking for Chuck. Where is he? He's like, he's in the diner talking to Gibson, and they're talking over some business. She's like, what kind of business? He's like, I'm afraid I can't tell you what kind of business at all, be honest with you, Layla. So then we see Gibson and Chuck making a plan, and they're going to meet up at 8 o'clock at the Caravan Hotel because the money is safe in a certain spot. It's in this oil barrel where Chuck was going to pour some oil into the barrel. Well, then he looked down inside and saw a bunch of money, and they were going to meet at the hotel because apparently there's a lot of fishy stuff happening around town, and it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so it'll be a safer spot for them to get together to exchange the money, apparently. So then we see Lila in the Lonnie's office. She's getting ready to set up her Christmas savings account, and Lonnie apparently has a thing for her because he's like taking off his glasses. Like, I really like someone who preps ahead. But then the Sheriff Gibson comes in, and she's like, I'm just signing off this paper and I'm gonna leave. And we've come to find out she is putting a pen in the holder as a bug, because once she gets into her car, she's then listening to them talk through the earpiece that she has set up in her car. She's a sneaky one. We see Mo talking to his two henchmen guys, like, you know, that's always been my goddamn problem. I've always been too goddamn nice to everyone. You know, I should be stepping on people's necks and choking them out, but I'm too nice and I just let them walk all over me. And then Mo's thinking, you know, the only person who would have access to the bank and be able to get into the bank and get the money and swap it out would be Chuck's little girlfriend, and he's saying Layla is Chuck's little girlfriend. You see Chuck going to show up at Layla's house. He's knocking on the door, and this big guy opens up the door. He's like, you're not Layla. He's like, no shit, I'm not. And then we see Layla come in this scene, and then this other big guy comes in as well. He's like, who's Huey and Louie, and what are they doing here? What are they doing with you? And apparently they're from the Bureau, and they know everything because they're secret agents as well. And Chuck was a little bit scared for a minute. And then they're like, so it's kind of suspicious to bring a civilian in on, you know, federal business. And he's like, Layla's like, you know, I've been working down here by myself the whole damn time because nobody else wants to do this damn job. So I'm going to figure out how to get the dirty money. So how about we all work together, okay, Clifford? Because Clifford's one of the big, you know, henchmen guys, you know, from the Bureau. As Chuck likes to say, Huey and Louie tried to call the shots on how the whole operation's going to go down. And Layla does not like that at all, because she's like, I've been sweating my balls off figuratively for the last 4 months. And if you guys think you're going to, you know, walk all over this and take control of this in the 11th hour, you're not going to do it. You can leave now, or you can follow my orders. Understood? So we see Chuck showing up to the hotel, getting ready in his room, and that's when he's figuring out everything that happened. The other two guys that were going to rob the bank are actually most guys, so he was hoping to make away with more money. And the whole time this is going on, we then see the two Bureau guys fighting in a hotel room together, but they're just playing some mini basketball on the back of the door and, you know, fighting and not paying attention to anything that's going on at all. Then we see Layla getting ready to leave her home, and that's when on the porch we see Mole and his two henchmen just standing there being like, evening, you look pretty nice tonight, don't you, huh? You got a nice back to you, don't you? He's like, where you going to there, darling? I bet you're probably going to meet up with Chucky Boy and go take my money and make for the hills now, aren't you? Isn't that what you got planned for tonight, little darling? That's when Chuck sees Gibson pulling up to the window. He's like whispering through the wall. He's like, they're here. They're 15 minutes early. They're right outside the door. Do you hear me? Do you hear me, guys? And they're still fighting over the basketball because the one guy called goaltending. He's like, my other partner never called goaltending on me ever. And Chucky opens the door for Gibson and Lonnie. He's like, you guys are 15 minutes early. And Gibson's like, yeah, you're a little bit ugly. What's the point? And Gibson starts confronting Chuck. He's like, I don't believe you're finding this money in an oil bin routine and whole spiel. I think you had something to do with the money being stolen from the bank. Then we see Sheriff Gibson tying Chucky up to a chair because he's an asshole like that. And we also see Mo and his guys coming in, pulling up in the hotel parking lot as well, and parking pretty much right beside Gibson's car, I believe. And then as Gibson and Lonnie are coming out of the hotel room, Mo and his guys are coming out of the car and be like, what are you doing here? And then there's a gunfight between all of them because now the other DEA guys are opening up the door and they're starting to shoot everywhere too. And he's like, what the hell's going on now, guys? What's going on? And Mo's like, come on, bring out my money now. And then the FBI guys come out of their hotel room. They start shooting at Mo's guys. And at some point in time, Gibson and Lonnie have enough room, or at least maybe it's just Gibson. He comes out and gets into his car and starts driving away, even though his car is parked right beside Mo's car, and his guys couldn't hit him at all because they're horrible shots. Then we see Mo having Lila by the head with the gun pointed right at her, be like, yo, you guys move at all, I'm gonna kill her. And then as he's getting in the car with Lila and drive away, we actually see Chuck getting free from the chair and jumping in the back seat of the car. And we see a short little police chase or car chase scene happening. Mo's hitting all these barriers and walls all over the place because, Lila's trying to take the gun from him and Chuck's trying to grab the steering wheel, and they're all fighting and they're all crashing all over the place, and then the gun finally drops behind the seat. And then Lila actually grabs the gun and has it at Mo's face. Then we see one of the FBI guys grab Mo out of the car and put him in the back seat. And then we see, them, closing down the scene essentially because one of the other FBI guys is talking to Lonnie. See Lila and Chuck just walking off into the distance a little bit, and then we cut to an airport where we see Gibson and he's being questioned by two FBI agents. Like, so what's in the bag after you make a move there? It's going to be really bad for you because we don't want to make any scenes right now in the airport because good old Sheriff Gibson was trying to make away with the whole bag of money because he's a scumbag. Shocking. We see Lila talking to like one of her head FBI agents and say, you did some stuff that I'm not going to agree on because, there's some entrapment and whatnot, but, you did something that we haven't been able to do. You caught moles, and, I guess we're just going to square up on everything. And then we see Lila's 2 weeks vacation, I guess, is approved, and she's going to the Caribbean. And next thing we see is a shot of the Caribbean. We see some beaches, and we see that plane all fixed up and all ready to go now. And then we see Lila showing up at this office building. She rings the bell on the front counter. He's like, hi, I was looking for a pilot, and it's actually Chuck, and he's got his own business up and running in the Caribbean, flying people around. Chuck's using his wise words, and he's like, just so happens to be we have a deal on a place that's remote and secluded, just for the lucky woman. And then they start making out in the office. We see the plane getting ready to taxi and taking off as Harold's, doing his taxiing air motion pilot thing, whatever you call him. I don't know. I'm not a flight person at all. He's telling the plane where to go, and then the movie ends and the credits start to roll. That's the end of the movie. As the credits are rolling, Chuck is saying how he's narrating how he's not sure where they're going, but it doesn't matter because as long as they're together, they're going to have a fun time no matter where they go. And it was a decent movie. It's not a great movie by any means. I wish there was more comedy aspects to it. Pauly Shore trying to play like a more serious role. It's just really unique and different to me from what I'm used to. I'm used to him being more goofy in the Weasellllll, so that's something that I'm more used to. So it's nice seeing him in this role. It's something different. On the Rotten scale out of 10, I'm going to give it a solid 5. I think it's fine. It's not great by any means, but I'm glad I watched it again. I paid more attention this time around than the other previous times. So I think it's good comedy aspects here and there. It's just not a full-on Weasellll comedy by any means. Which brings us to what we're going to watch next week. This one is another movie that can be found on YouTube, just so you guys know. I don't know how many, have I done any animated movies yet? Because we're going to do something that's animated, and it's going to be an anime actually. We're going to watch Lupin the Third, Missed by a Dollar, the English dub. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching that. I used to watch Lupin a lot, and it's been a while, so I'm looking forward to watching this one again. And as always, make sure to go check that movie out ahead of time if you want to. Like I said, it's free on YouTube. If not, you're in for hopefully a good episode next week. As always, though, make sure to check out the outro band, trial-based horror band Blood Opera. all their links are down below, but you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud. The main thing being the Spotify channel that they have. To go check out their latest album as well. Some pretty cool stuff. You can find all the music videos on YouTube as well, so definitely go take a look at that. And as always, make sure to check out all my links down below as well at Typhonstein. Find me on Instagram, X, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, but the main thing being that YouTube channel. Definitely go check out the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button if you don't mind. We have the weekly game video every Wednesday. We have old episodes of podcasts. We do live streams over there as well, and we have various shorts as well, so it's all fun. It's a fun little community that we're building up, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that as well. And if you guys want to, make sure to leave a review or a star review if you're listening on Spotify, or an Apple review, wherever it might be, or just hit that share button.
That really does help a lot, and I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace!
I am a whisperer.